Welcome and welcome back everybody, Tia here, and in today's video we'll be doing a brief tutorial on the Railroad Ink Electricity expansion pack. This expansion pack includes two unique expansions, the Street Lamp dice and the Power Grid dice. Let's start off by taking a look at our Street Lamps expansion. This expansion is ranked at an easy difficulty, and when using these dice, you'll reduce the total number of rounds from 7 down to 6. So in addition to rolling your 4 white base game dice each round, you'll roll the 2 Street Lamp dice, which show various faces containing highways and street lamps. It's completely optional whether or not you want to use 0, 1, or 2 of these dice each round, and you'll simply draw them onto your board with the appropriate highway shape and the street lamp icon down in the bottom right corner. Now, the object of this particular expansion is to activate the street lamps. The way that we're going to do that is anytime we draw one of the special routes shown at the top of your board, which you can do 3 times throughout the game total, you will go ahead and choose either a column or a row and activate all of the street lamps in that column or row. So you can see here that previously we activated this street lamp by drawing the asterisk next to it. On our current board, I've just drawn our 4-way railway intersection, which is a special route. And as such, I can choose any column or row. It's not limited to the column or row that you draw the special route in, so that's important to keep in mind. Here, I could choose this column and activate these 2 street lamps for a total of 2 points. Or I could choose this row and activate 3 street lamps. You'll notice that the street lamp that has previously been activated will not gain any bonus points, nor will it turn off or do anything crazy like that. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this middle row and draw an asterisk next to each of the street lamps to indicate that they have been activated. At the end of the game, you will simply count up the number of activated street lamps you have on your board. Each one will be worth a single point. So if this was my final board, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 bonus points for activated street lamps. Any street lamps that are not activated or anything like that do not count as negatives. It's simply just that. An activated street lamp will be 1 point at the end of the game. Next up, let's take a look at our Power Grid expansion. FYI, this expansion is one of the few that is ranked at a hard difficulty, so it is a little bit of a doozy. When playing with this expansion, you will use the full 7 rounds of the game. Before starting your first round, all players will have to draw an accumulator on the center spot of their board. It has to be able to hold up to 3 charges. You can see that I have 3 circles ready to be bubbled in later on. If you are playing with a copy of Railroad Ink Challenge, please note that the university that is drawn on that space will not be filled out or fulfilled when first drawing that accumulator or in later rounds when charging it. So if you want to get that bonus special route, you'll have to use the 3 other spaces provided on your board throughout the course of the game. When playing with this expansion, in addition to the 4 white base game dice, you will roll the 2 Power Grid dice. These dice will allow you to electrify routes, which will potentially score you points at the end of the game. There are 2 different types of symbols, an electrical bolt with a question mark and one with a directional arrow. If you roll a die that has a question mark, it will allow you to electrify any one unelectrified route or place 1 charge into your accumulator. So any of these railroads or road pieces or connected stations that do not have the electric symbol in the corner are valid candidates. The other option is to color in, like I said, one of the charges on your accumulator, which I'll go ahead and do. Now, when rolling the directional dice, you are limited in the direction that the electric currents can be placed. However, you can make some pretty cool bonuses if you have the right networks set up. So there are 3 options for using the directional dice. The first is to start at an exit and electrify any spaces leading out of that exit in that direction. So for example, here we have an exit down here where the route is not yet electrified. It will go ahead and travel as many spaces as possible in that direction. So this die is pointing to the left, so we'll do 1, 2. This will be stopped if you reach a blank space or a space that has previously been electrified. It cannot jump over any of these other blank spaces to the other side of the board or anything like that. So it's the number of consecutive spaces that have unelectrified routes pertaining to that specific direction on the die. Another thing that you could do is start at an already electrified route. So up here we have these that were electrified in a previous round. I could start at this one and kind of push that electricity out to the left from there. So I'll go ahead and draw a lightning bolt symbol here, here, and here. Notice that you're not limited by how the routes connect from square to square. It's simply if they're adjacent and they have routes that are not previously electrified, you'll be able to fill them in. So even though these two are connected and this one is not, via the railroad, stations, highways, what have you, because they're adjacent and they're traveling in that left direction, you are able to fill them in. The last option is to potentially charge your accumulator. But for this to happen, unlike with the question mark die, which is just one freebie, you'll have to have an already electrified route that is adjacent to the accumulator, and the direction of the arrow will have to allow you to put one charge into the accumulator from that route that's already been drawn. So here, the space to the right has been electrified previously. And since we're going to the left, I can kind of move that charge into the left center space to charge my accumulator, like so. The accumulator can only hold up to a total of 3 charges, so that is important to note. At the end of the game, we're going to score points based on the number of connected exits that lead back to our accumulator via electrified routes and multiply that by the number of charges in our accumulator. So we have 2 charges in our accumulator. We'll have a multiply bonus of 2. Obviously, this route down here is not electrified. It does not count as an electrified exit leading back to our accumulator. This route over here has a highway that leads all the way to the accumulator, but because the electrified spaces do not continue nor lead in any way back to the accumulator, it does not count. This route over here, though it's not connected with a railway, is connected via electrified spaces, so that actually will count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exits that are connected back to our accumulator with electrified routes specifically. So that will be a total of 6 times 2 for a total of 12 points. A couple little other scoring things that are important to keep in mind is that the accumulator space does not act in any way as a station connecting railways and highways. So although these routes all connect into the accumulator in some way, only these 2 exits are actually connected on this particular board. Another thing to keep in mind is that any open-end spaces that lead into the accumulator will not be worth -1 points at the end of the game. That's all the time we have for today. If you found this video helpful or enjoyable in any form, please feel free to leave a like. You can also subscribe down below for more board game content. And definitely let me know in the comments, which of these 2 expansions are you more excited for? Or if you've tried them out, which one did you like better? Are you down for the really straightforward, easy Street Lamp expansion, or the very shockingly hard Power Grid expansion? Thank you again so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Somebody please help. I think I need medical attention.